Well, Richard, if we start with probably the bad news of Tom Briscoe and his knee injury, have you got an update on that for us?
Yeah, at the moment, sort of with these injuries, there's a lot of swelling at the moment and a lot of soreness. So he doesn't see the specialist for another sort of week or 10 days time. But within that week, we'll probably get him operated on. You know, the first indications are that obviously it's the classification of it is a full ACL tear. So we're expecting him to have a sort of 6 to 9 month recovery, which is a real blow for us because, you know, Tommy's been a terrific player for us, and certainly in the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks, his leadership, experience, level of performance have all been top drawer really. So, you know, he's sick as a parrot about it, and so are we. But we'll do everything we can to, you know, get him the best possible treatment. And if it's a 6 to 9 month recovery, then try and make it more 6, 7 months rather than 9.
How much is it kind of one of them things that Tom Briscoe looks like he's going to be out for 6 to 9 months, just at the same time as it looks like you're getting Stevie Ward back? It's kind of such bad luck like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sport we play. Injuries are a part and parcel of the game. You know, I was speaking to Tommy yesterday because he's had a very long and successful career. I can remember him having a couple of sort of ankle syndesmosis and obviously had a fairly sizable shoulder injury. He's not had any major knee problems. You know, one positive about it is, you know, he's a powerhouse, Tommy, and you know, from the waist down, he's a very how can I say, power athlete and solid muscle, which will certainly help where he's at in his recovery. You know, to get Stevie back and back in the frame is obviously a massive bonus for us at this time with such an important running in front of us. For Tommy, you know, it opens the door for his younger brother, who's a very similar style of player, you know, very strong out of backfield. I've watched Luke very closely, playing with Featherstone this year, and certainly some of those guys, Ash Golding, Luke, and Alex Sutcliffe, are probably a little bit unlucky that they've not had much more first team action. It's only the fitness of our 3/4 line really that have stopped these guys playing, but their form has been very, very encouraging, and you know, we know we can put Luke in with the utmost confidence.
From the bad news on the wing with Tom to good news that we've had this morning of Ash Handley's new contract, what can you say about him?
Yeah, I think Ash is rapidly turning into one of the form wingers in the competition, and you know, we're challenging Ash at the moment to elevate himself to that next level. And while he's an England Knights player, you know, we think if he can continue on the upward scale that he's on and the sort of form that he's in, given his all-round game as well, you know, we think Ash is a guy that can go on and achieve more honours in the game. So to get him tied down for 4 years, given his age, given his form, given the fact he's a pathways player at Leeds Rhinos, you know, he cares very much about the club and where we are at the moment. And again, he's a guy that, you know, I've said this about Tommy, despite being wingers, they're very much turning into leadership style players, and Ash is a guy who's you know, attitude, actions, you know, personify the type of player that we want in our team.
How important is that sort of strategic planning of getting him tied down to a new contract, Jack Walker, Harry Newman? It's really falling on, isn't it?
It is. You know, you need a plan, and sometimes those plans sort of take time to come to fruition, and a little bit of patience in terms of development too. But I think that's the key. If you get it wrong, it can hurt your club tremendously, and it can hurt it for, you know, more than a year too. You know, it can hurt it for 2 and 3 years. So I think being able to build our foundations, get the right people into key positions, but in particular build on these pathway players that, you know, have come through the system and know what Leeds Rhinos DNA is all about. You know, I'm fairly new to the club, so I'm finding out myself along the way. But you're correct, having a strategic, long-term vision, plan, way of working, culture is what's going to drive our club forward. And I think we're starting to, you know, you can see we're starting to add bit by bit, you know, parts of our team are coming along nicely.
Just touch on a couple of things you said there about the strategic planning. and how it can hurt your club for 2 or 3 years. And Kevin Sinfield's talked about it himself. Is this kind of trying to make sure that what's happened at the club over the last couple of years, after all that success, doesn't happen again? You can sort of build another period of success.
Yeah, look, putting a squad together and managing it within the confines of a salary cap, managing it with the fact that you've got 5 quota players, and making sure that the balance, not only the balance but the succession within that planning is right as well. And let me tell you, even the best planning, you can get some little blind spots that come along, or some little thunderbolts that take you by surprise and can knock you around a bit. But we've always thought that the key to it is planning, succession, and Leeds have always been renowned for having terrific overseas players, but built on the foundations of the guys that have come through the pathway. So that's very much, in a nutshell, that's at the forefront of what we're thinking. And bit by bit, it can be a slow process at times, but I do think, you can see long term what the club, what Kevin behind the scenes is and has been planning for a while. And as I say, it's not all that easy at times just to get it done in one foul swoop, but bit by bit we think it's the foundations on which we can build, for the next 10 years and more. It's a 360-day operation. You don't have a day off with recruitment and retention. It's always evolving, and those plans, those longer term plans can also change along the way. But at the moment, we're starting to feel like we're sort of pointing in the right direction with it.
Just before we talk about this week's game and sort of the rest of the season, how close are the club to deciding on where you stand in that strategic position? A lot of Leeds Rhinos fans asking whether you're going to be the head coach next season, or who's going to be the head coach next season.
We've been consistent with this. It's a question that we're getting asked a lot, and a question that we haven't been asked as much lately. And I think I can be straight up from them and say we just don't want any distractions. When it's such a critical part of the season, I'm really comfortable doing this job as it is at this moment in time. I'm sure Kevin and Gary have got some plans behind the scenes, but any sort of talks between myself and them, it's purely been about I don't want any loss of focus or distraction to where we're at the moment. I feel that effort-wise, culturally, spirit-wise, at the moment we've got a really committed bunch of blokes that are trying to get this job done as quick as we can. We're still right in the mix of the bottom 5 teams, and we're desperate to pull ourselves out of that. All that stuff will take care of itself in the long run. But for me personally, whether it's superstition or I just want all the focus to remain on the team and the team's performance over the next 3 or 4 weeks. All that stuff will sort itself out, and it's a great job, and I don't think the club will ever be short of the opportunity to go get itself the coach that it wants and the right fit for the job. I just want to get this next bit nailed, and then, as I say, all that stuff will work itself out.
Looking ahead to Catalan then, how different a place has it been since that win over Huddersfield in training?
Yeah, no different, to be honest. No different to how it's been for the last 10 weeks. Within that, we feel we've had a couple of games that we've played well enough, and our commitment's been good enough, but we got some skill parts of the game wrong, or some game management, or lost some opportunities, and we felt there's a couple of games in there that we certainly could have won. We look at the whole game a couple of weeks ago as being one of those. And there's been certainly the whole KR game was a game that we felt, from a playing point of view, we really let ourselves down. But in terms of what we're doing in the week, Monday to Friday, we've just got no complaints. And the boys are training well, doing the right things, saying the right things. Intensity levels are great, spirit's great, positivity. So we tend to be on Sky most weeks at the moment, and pre-game interviews are very much down the line of the size of the game, the pressure, what are you going to do. I said, there's a lot of external pressures, but internally, we had a group. I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time here, but we're a really strong group. Really strong, really positive. Looking forward to the next game, and it's important that we stress we've had a good win, but our thought process is that we just can't get ahead of ourselves. We've got to build the foundations for this game again. Take out the positives from Huddersfield, but also realise that this is a new start and another day, and we can't get away from the fact that we've got to do all those little things that build up into big performances, and that's been the talk this week. You can imagine training's been no problem this week. A little bit banged up after the Huddersfield game. Obviously Connie came off with a foot injury. Rob Louis had a bit of a bang on his hip. Jack Walker took a bit of a knock. Obviously Tommy got hurt. So early in the week we felt rest and recovery were vitally important. We didn't feel like we were dealing with a team that we had to pick them up off the ground and really focus on too many areas. We've done our due diligence and our preparation on Catalan, but again we're going to invest a lot of energy in ourselves.
As much as you'd want to try and keep a lid on things game by game,
Yep.
how much confidence does it give a group of players to put in such a performance like that with only 6 rounds of the season going, when it is a bit of a dogfight at the bottom of the table?
Yeah, it is, but I guess that's what I've been sort of trying to say, and whether it's keeping the pressure away, but it's just keeping it really simple, game by game, and knowing and understanding what we've got to deliver, and knowing and understanding our roles within that game. And sure, the boys will take confidence out of it, but I'll say again, I don't think confidence has been an issue for a while. I think there's times, again, we've let ourselves down in maybe some skill areas and some individual performances, and you look at our team and at times there's still holes in us, but effort and commitment can cover a lot of those holes up, and I said the confidence is good, and having a 44-0 victory is always going to improve that. Having said that as well, we're probably going to face tougher challenges this year. We did a really good job on Huddersfield, but I'm sure their coach will be pretty disappointed in their performance too. So we know we're fighting a team that are battling to stay in the 5, 6. This week they had a good performance last week, but obviously a lot of conjecture and a lot of eyes of the world of rugby league were on their game, so we know that they'll be coming here really determined after we put one over on them 4 or 5 weeks ago.
And last thing for me, it's not transfer deadline madness like they've got in football, but have you got any plans to get any extra bodies in, or are there any plans to move anybody out before that deadline?
Oh, it's not the same market, is it? It's definitely not the same market, and we've not got the reporters camped outside Headingley just yet. No plans. I think the deadline is today, is it? Yeah, today, which me not sort of knowing exactly when it will probably tells you that our policy has been, we're really happy with the squad. The squad we've got, I guess for the teams that are battling it out, I won't swap our squad for anyone. We've got a strong belief in the players we've got, that they can get the job done, and I think we've got a strong belief in each other. So I think bringing someone in for the sake of it, if it were a top line player and it was someone that we felt were coming in for the long term, that would enhance our organisation, but at this moment in time we think we've got a fit, healthy, happy squad that's more than capable of getting this job done and getting it done well.